Now at 10, the search for a missing Oklahoma 4-year-old turns into a recovery operation. Plus, a new warning about an identity theft scam after a Springfield woman apparently fell victim to it. And we're going to check out some area celebrations of the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The family of a Miami, Oklahoma man who was killed in a hit and run last year has settled a wrongful death case against the driver. This is KOAM News at 10. I'm Dow Quick. That crash happened in Miami last February. Authorities say Mindy McBrien hit 58-year-old Kwanzin Yi with her car, then drove off. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Under the settlement, McBrien has agreed to pay $100,000 in liability insurance limits to Yi's family. McBrien's criminal case is still going through the courts. She's charged with manslaughter and fleeing the scene of an accident. Authorities in Cyril, Oklahoma say the search for a missing 4-year-old girl is now considered a recovery operation. Athena Brownfield hasn't been seen since last Tuesday. On that day, her 5-year-old sister was found outside of her relative and caretaker's home by a postal carrier. Athena and her sister had been in the care of Alicia and Ivan Adams for at least a year. Alicia Adams is now facing charges of 2 counts of child neglect. Ivan Adams faces 1 count of first-degree murder and 1 count of child neglect. He was arrested in Arizona last week and is awaiting extradition to Oklahoma. Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy joins us now with a first look at the weather.
Well, definitely turned out to be a nice one for us today. It was a little bit on the windy side, but we did go well into the 60s. Look at this, 66 for a high. The record 69, so we weren't that far off. Normal high is 44 degrees, and we're going to go into the 60s again for us tomorrow. So that'll be 3 days in a row. Yesterday, today, and then once again as we go into Tuesday. Then we'll start to cool back down. Right now, most of us are upper 40s to near 50 degrees. We have these kind of light westerly winds across the region and a few little clouds kind of skirting across the area. But in general, it's going to be a pretty quiet night. We have one storm system heading away. Next one is building out to our south and to our west. So into the morning, we drop back into the upper 30s. We are going to start the day with plenty of sunshine. Rain chances by tomorrow night. We're going to look at that here in just a bit.
See you then. A new warning about identity theft. A woman in Springfield recently learned someone else took out a loan in her name. She only found out when she got notified that she now has to pay up. Elizabeth Van Meter reports on how this happened and what's next.
I wish I would have known about it before the payment was due.
Heidi Harrington has quite the following on social media.
Strawberry yogurt dipped.
She's a content creator, and between her Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube channel has more than 500,000 followers.
So I've recently been really into Asian fashion and the makeup that comes out of South Korea and Japan.
Her job makes her an independent contractor. During the pandemic, she took out a PPP loan, one she says was forgiven.
My mom called me and said, hey, you got a letter from the SBA, so I'm going to get it to you. I'm like, okay, cool.
SBA is the Small Business Administration.
So I opened it, and it said that my payment was due for my COVID-19 EIDL loan.
The EIDL loans were used for normal operating expenses, including payroll, purchasing equipment, and paying off debt. But they had to be paid back. Hers in 13 days from when she got the letter, except she never took out the loan. She went to the SBA site on the letter. The letter is legit.
I wish the letter had just been fake. That would have been so much nicer than what is happening now.
Harrington believes her identity was stolen. She had her passport stolen 4 years ago, and because the address used was the one on her passport, she thinks that's how they got her info.
You know, this loan has been out since 2020. So I just had no idea it was just happening in the background.
She shared her story on social media, and others have shared that it happened to them too.
Clearly the government made an entire web page. So so you've had your identity stolen and a COVID loan taken out in your name, huh? So this is definitely happening.
She says she worries most for those who may have their credit impacted before they even know what's going on.
If the people who stole their identity used an old address. So if my parents' address hadn't been on my passport, I wouldn't have even known.
The Better Business Bureau says being proactive in situations like this is important.
If someone suspects that they've been the victim of identity theft, it is important that they act quickly. And the first step that they should take is go to identitytheft.gov so that they can report the identity theft and get some assistance in preparing a recovery plan.
For now, Harrington is doing just that and hoping it will have a resolution before the end of the month.
If you believe you've been a victim of identity theft, the BBB also recommends putting a freeze on your credit reports to make sure no one else tries to obtain credit in your name. If you bought a Mega Millions ticket in Southeast Kansas about a week ago, you want to take a look at it. It seems the ticket sold in Southeast Kansas for the January 10th drawing matched all 5 numbers, but not the Mega Ball. Even though that ticket wasn't enough for the grand prize, it's still worth a cool $1 million. And at last report, that $1 million still unclaimed. The winning numbers in that drawing were 7, 13, 14, 15, 18, Mega Ball 9. The Gordon Parks Museum hosted a celebration inside the Ellis Fine Arts Center in recognition of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Movies were played during the day with a day of service, canned food drive, a free lunch, and Learn event brought a guest speaker from the University of Kansas to speak and answer questions with the participants. Kirk Sharp, organizer for the event, thinks the takeaway from the event is to understand the struggles still happening today and have a day of service.
We wanted to use this as a day of service because Martin Luther King Day is just not a day off. It should be a day on, and it's a national day of service. So we wanted to do a day of service on top of everything else. So this is our second year doing the day of service for the canned food drive, and this year is truly successful.
Sharp says they got lots of food donations. The amount of canned food items collected for local Beacon Food Pantry doubled in size compared to the previous year. Pittsburgh State University's Black Student Association held their annual candlelight vigil in honor of Dr. King. Community members and students gathered with candles around the Oval at PSU, and they sang "Lift Every Voice and Sing." Members of the association read part of Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. Then the floor was open for anyone who wanted to share what today meant to them.
Personally, it means a lot of growth, especially in the African American community. It's good to remember those who came before us and did a lot for us, and I think it's very good to get together and be with people who mean a lot to you and talk about why MLK is important and why it's good to keep his memory alive.
This is the 3rd year for the Martin Luther King Jr. Vigil. Coming up, Republicans on Capitol Hill seek answers in the investigation into classified documents found at the home and former office of President Biden. Plus, what a new report shows about a decline in used car prices. Police in Italy have captured convicted mafia boss Matteo Messina Denaro, the country's most wanted fugitive. A special forces squad arrested the 60-year-old godfather at a medical clinic in Sicily, where he was reportedly receiving treatment for colon cancer. Messina Denaro was a leading figure in Cosa Nostra, the real-life Sicilian crime syndicate depicted in the Godfather movies. He'd been on the run for 30 years. The investigation into President Biden's handling of classified materials is just getting started, and Republicans are calling for the current president to be treated the same as the former president's classified document case was handled. Reporter Skylar Henry has more details from Washington, D.C.
Republicans in Congress are demanding to know who may have had access to classified documents found at President Biden's former Capitol Hill office and his Wilmington, Delaware home.
We're very concerned about a lack of transparency.
House Oversight Chairman James Comer sent a letter to the White House requesting the visitor log of President Biden's Wilmington, Delaware home since he was elected.
This is a national security risk. That's my biggest concern, and that's why we're pressing forward with this investigation.
The White House tells CBS News that while they do keep records of who comes and goes from the White House, there are no such records at the president's personal residence. White House officials say they turned over 5 more documents found at the president's home over the weekend to DOJ officials. and they're fully cooperating with the special counsel's investigation.
This administration is doing things by the book. There is a divide and a separation between the Department of Justice and the White House that certainly did not exist in the last administration.
President Biden didn't address the investigation during a Martin Luther King Jr. Day speech Monday. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
President Biden added that he would work with House Republicans on legislative matters that make the country better. Used car prices have dropped. That's according to data from Edmunds, an online information source on cars. The reason for the drop is the increased supply of new cars. Experts say the decline includes higher interest rates. This makes it more expensive to finance a car, limiting demand. Today's average used car price is about the same as the average new car price in 2010. Walgreens says it's no longer limiting online sales of children's fever medicine. Some pharmacies restricted such purchases last month when RSV and the flu caused demand to surge. The CDC says flu and RSV have peaked, but other respiratory viruses remain high or very high in about half of the states in the U.S. Walgreens didn't limit in-person sales of pediatric fever medication. A highly transmissible Omicron subvariant now accounts for 43% of COVID cases in the U.S. The Centers for Disease Control says the rise of the XBB.1.5 strain is connected to the uptick in cases over the last 6 weeks. The good news, experts say the current booster shots continue to protect against severe infection. A little bit later, the Liberal Bulldogs face off against Northeast Vernon County in the opening game of the Tony Dubrae Classic. We'll have the highlights.
Plus, we have some rain chances in the forecast. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, it definitely turned out to be a decent day for us today. A little bit on the windy side, especially the first half of the day, and the winds have kind of died down just a bit over the past, couple hours. Nice shot, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. Looks pretty good right now. But look at our temperatures earlier today. Looks great as most of us went into the mid 60s, in fact, upper 60s once you got down into our southern counties. Of course, we've dropped off a bit, anywhere from 47 in Stockton, Neosho 48, Seneca 49, Afton at 47, Parsons sitting at about 48. Most of us upper 30s to near 40 later on tonight. All right, it was windy earlier. You can see the winds have calmed down outside. If we go outside, 7th and Rangeline 51, westerly winds 5 to 10, humidity is at 54%. We'll drop back into the upper 30s late tonight into the morning hours. We're going to start the day with plenty of sunshine, but clouds will increase throughout the afternoon. We do have some mid and upper level clouds kind of skirting through the region right now, but most of the central plains looking pretty good. Here's our next storm system out across the southwest parts of the U.S., and this is, it's a moderate system that's going to kind of zoom out right across the central plains as we go into tomorrow night and then into Wednesday. All right, so let's break it down. We'll stop tomorrow morning, upper 30s to near 40. Quick warm up, well into the 50s by noon. Once we get into the afternoon, you can see the clouds start to thicken. We stay in the 50s, northern counties, southern half, you're going to go back into the 60s once again, just like we saw today. 39 to start, 57 by noon. Clouds increase, high temp, right around 62-ish as we get into the afternoon. All right, clouds continue to thicken tomorrow night. Showers start to spread in, so here's about midnight. Showers through the overnight hours into Wednesday morning, and then they will intensify just a little bit as we go through Wednesday morning. And we'll see a few thunderstorms, which will be embedded in. Nothing too strong or severe, and then these are going to be gone by about the middle of the afternoon hours on Wednesday. And then Wednesday night into Thursday morning, clouds rotate back in. We may get a few flurries. That should be just about it. All right, rainfall amounts, decent, which we can always use. I think most of us, half an inch, upwards to about 3/4 of an inch across the region. And our rain chances really shoot up. You can see after midnight into Thursday morning, or Wednesday morning, and then they taper off by the afternoon. We'll also have another storm system behind this as we go into the weekend. We're going to have to keep our eyes on this. Rain will start to spread in. Here's Saturday morning. Rain spreads in very close to that rain-snow line, so we need to see where that sets up. Also, Kansas City, the Chiefs game is Saturday afternoon, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that. All right, for us tomorrow, 62, 60 on Wednesday, morning showers across the region. 45 Thursday, so Thursday and Friday cooler. Rain chances right back in. Saturday could end with a little bit of snow by Sunday morning. Another system by the middle part of next week.
Okay, well, as you say, we could use a bit of rain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. We have a late breaking story tonight. Apparently there's been a semi-truck crash that's taken out power to a number of communities in southwest Missouri. This crash happened around Jack Pine and Highway 96 in Carthage. The semi overturned, took out a power pole, and obviously sparked a fire. We don't know about any injuries from this accident, but we can tell you that the last report, Empire District Electric reported about 4,000 customers, perhaps more than 4,000 customers without power because of this incident. Still ahead, the Tony DuBray Classic begins tonight at Liberal High School, and the Southeast Lancers face Parsons in the first round of the Lancer Classic. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more up next.
Today is the opening day of the Lancer Classic at Southeast High School. The boys bracket gets started today with the girls bracket scheduled to begin tomorrow. Starting things off this afternoon, the Columbus Titans on the floor against the Neodesha Blue Streaks. Early on, Colt Ungerhauer going pick and roll with Brett Hamilton. Hamilton rolls, finishes easy off the window. Then check out Ungerhauer. Drives, spins. Nice little scoop in for two. Ungerhauer on the break here behind everybody. Gets up for the two-handed jam. Columbus really rolled in this one from the opening tip. On the other side, though, Crew Johnson. There's some nice plays for Neodesha. None cooler than this one. Beats the first quarter buzzer with the deep ball off the glass. In the end, though, it is Columbus cruising in their Lancer Classic opener 80-29. After that, the tournament hosts Lancers 7-1 on a 5-game winning streak. Face Parsons in round one. Second quarter, Landon Wheat on the steal for Parsons. Goes the other way, two-handed jam. It was a competitive first half. Easton Wren. Strong drive finish for the Lancers. Parsons, though, up 13 and a half. And they would close this thing strong. Second half, Jesse Jones. Floater in the lane. He scores 10 tonight for the Vikings. Landon Wheat again. One-hander here. He put on a show tonight. Finishes with 19. And Dante Sawyer open on the far side. Knocks down the three. 10 points tonight for Sawyer. And finally, Demias Johnson. Top of the key. Long ball rattles in. Parsons hammers Southeast in the second half. Going on to win 69-34. Well, tonight is also the opening night of the Tony DuBray Classic in Liberal. The girls bracket gets started this evening with the hometown Bulldogs facing Northeast Vernon County. The winner of this game moves on to play in the tournament semifinals on Wednesday night. In the first quarter, Liberal moving the ball around. Taylor Swarns pulls up and connects from the wing. She scores 21 tonight for the Bulldogs. Moving ahead to the third now, Lainey Simpson working on the block. One move and passes it off to Abby Barton for the easy finish with the left. Bulldogs up 22 at that point. Finally, in the fourth quarter, Liberal closes this thing out. Elena Lanier with the open jumper for the Bulldogs. Liberal wins and moves on, beating Northeast Vernon County 54-42. In the college game, the latest AP national rankings are out today. Kansas Jayhawks stay at number 2 this week. The last time out on Saturday, they held on against Iowa State 62-60 to get to 5-0 in the Big 12. The Kansas State Wildcats are down 2 spots from number 11 to number 13 this week after Saturday's loss to TCU. Arkansas also slipping this week. The Razorbacks are down 10 spots from 15 to 25 after an upset loss to Vanderbilt. And the Missouri Tigers, they were number 20, then they were upset by Florida. The Tigers have dropped out of the top 25. After a bye week to open the NFL playoffs, it's game week again for the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs play at home this weekend, facing the Jaguars in the AFC divisional round. Now this one, scheduled for Saturday afternoon at 3:30 in Kansas City. Winner moves on to play for the AFC Championship. Right now, Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. It's actually going to be the second meeting of the season between the two teams. Kansas City beat Jacksonville 27-17 in Kansas City back in November. Since that game, though, Jacksonville's been really good. They've gone 7-1 since their loss to Kansas City. That includes winning their playoff opener last week against the Chargers. In that game, Jacksonville overcame a 27-0 deficit to beat LA 31-30. That was the third largest comeback in NFL history. Can't wait for that game on Saturday. You get to the playoffs, it's always fun, but I do think the Chiefs roll.
I think the Chiefs are going to win. Roll, I don't care, as long as you get by.
That's all it takes.
We're going to have an update on that big power outage in southwest Missouri when we come back. Take time now to honor a local veteran. Hepler, Kansas native John Anderson served in the U.S. Army. During his 4 years of service, he was stationed in the Philippines. He received several awards, including an American Service Medal and Philippine Liberation Ribbon with a Bronze Star. And we salute John Anderson, a four-state hero. We have some updated information for you concerning a semi-crash and a simultaneous power outage in southwest Missouri. Now, this crash happened in Carthage near 96 and Jack Pine this evening. As you can see, the truck went into flames, caused a fire in the grass around it. It hit a power pole, and probably not coincidentally, at the same time, there was a big power outage in the communities of Webb City, Oronogo, Alba, and Purcell. The electric company, Empire, tells us more than 4,100 customers affected by that power outage. No word on whether anyone was hurt in this semi-crash. Of course, we're going to have more information for you on the morning show. In the meantime, let's check in with Doug Hetty for a final look at the weather.
Well, it's going to be fine tonight. We're going to drop back to about 38, 39 degrees. 62 tomorrow, so a pretty good day, but rain moves in late tomorrow night into Wednesday. Rain possibly over to snow as we head into the weekend.
Final sports note.
I know we have a lot of Cowboys fans around here. There's a lot of Cowboys fans everywhere. 31-14, Dallas beats Tampa Bay tonight. Cowboys are headed to the divisional round.
Yeah,
There are also some Tom Brady fans around.
Yeah, I know one of them. Yeah, for sure.
Morning show starts at 5 a.m. Let's make it a great tomorrow.